Yeah. On the subject of coaches, Rob, Jake White, never far away from the headlines, now linked to a technical coaching position with the Tonga national side.
Yes, an
Now
interesting
that
one.
seems like a serious step back rather.
It does, and you sort of wonder where does the Tongan rugby union get the money from? I mean, he's not the sort of guy. Given that he's a World Cup winning coach from 2007, I don't think he comes cheap. You know, never mind that the rand is a wobbly old currency in international terms. I think Jake probably thinks. Possibly is almost entitled to think more in kind of dollar and pound sort of terms, if you like. And so it'd be interesting if any deal was struck. I suppose you know, if the cynic in me sort of says, well, you know, Jake gets linked with so many jobs. It's almost as if, you know, he starts one job and within months he's already being linked with something else. He seems to be, he's developing a reputation as a sort of almost like a quick fix kind of coach these days, where he sort of goes in and gives a little bit of a power boost. I mean, he did, let's face it, he did manage that initially with the Brumbies, and then also in the earliest days with the Sharks. You know, he manages to sort of stabilize or turn around teams to a point. But then little problems tend to sort of get in the way. What is interesting, I suppose, is that he may be looking for a World Cup gig. Obviously, you know, we're less than a year away now from another RWC. So you know, he might be thinking, I'd love to have some sort of role, and perhaps any technical advisory role with Tonga could be perhaps something that is a precursor to actually taking charge of them at the World Cup. But I still, there's a part of me that still finds it reasonably unlikely. You know, I'd sort of say watch the space, because maybe something else will crop up in the meantime. I don't know what Garen's thoughts are on that.
Yeah, well, I'd be shocked beyond belief if Jake ever boards a plane bound for Tonga. I think he's going to meet them in the UK on their end of year tour, and, you know, sort of advise there, and that might just be, you know, 4 or 5 weeks, and then that gig over. You know, he might link up again with them ahead of the Rugby World Cup. But you know, from what I gather and what I understand, Jake's looking for a top international job. And when you just list the countries, you know, Hanneke Meyer, he's stuck at the Brumbies, at the Springboks. You know, got the England coach having just signed a long-term deal. The Wallaby job is an interesting one, because Jake's obviously coached the Brumbies already. Whether he wants to take on that job, I'm not 100% sure. It looks like the All Black job is sort of secure with old Steve Hansen there. So, you know, whether he goes to a France or something like that, you know, he might well have a sort of a wish list, and, you know, there might be a Wales on there, or an Ireland, or a France on there. So I think anything lower or less than that, you know, Jake will be selling himself short a little bit. Certainly, Tonga, Fiji, you know, Samoa, even one of those jobs will sort of be a little bit beneath Jake. And I'm also quite interested in this Marty's job, Director of Rugby, that he's supposed to be linked to, that they are advertising for at the moment. You know, that again looks like a pretty much, I'll do that for the Varsity Cup next February to sort of April, and then, you know, I'll be available for something more senior after that.
I mean, Rob, there's no doubt that he's a fantastic coach, and everyone, you know, rightly so, thought after he, you know, sent the Boks to World Cup glory that he would be in huge demand. There's been a lot of criticism since then, not just in terms of his clashes, but the kind of rugby that he coaches, possibly, you know, a bit boring and just very territorially orientated.
Look, historically, his reputation is for creating teams that are tough nuts to crack. Doesn't necessarily mean that they'll play vintage rugby, but that they will be, you know, decent sides that are hard to unravel, that play sort of very much a percentage-based sort of rugby. The big question, I suppose, is he evolving fast enough with the evolution of rugby? You know, there is. You know, rugby faces challenges, and you know, even at Currie Cup level, you know, here, people are acutely aware that you can't survive on gates of 3,000 or 4,000, especially if a team isn't playing the most inspiring of rugby. And you do need to put bums back on seats. Western Province, for example, with the sort of, you know, this complete sort of rejuvenation that they've had in the last few months since Gert Smal took over as director of rugby. And Alistair Coetzee, to his credit, seems to have bought in quite well to this new brand of rugby, which, you know, Province are starting to put bums on seats. As I said, they got 27,000 for their game, a dead rubber game, featuring their sort of B-side, if you like, against the Sharks, which was testimony, I think, to the fact that people are interested in watching rugby. And that's where someone like Jake has a little bit of a challenge. Maybe the Sharks also are still mindful. I know that they've always had issues about gates at Kings Park for the last few seasons. Gates have been in decline for some time, even for really big matches. You really struggle to fill that stadium. And I'll be interested to know just what went on in John Smith's mind with this kind of termination, if you like, with Jake. How much of that may have been linked to the fact that the Sharks had actually gone, it seemed a little bit sort of sterile under Jake after a very promising start.
Okay, thank you, gents.
Thanks, Nick.
Thanks, Nick.
Well, don't forget to check in on Sport24 for your latest sports news, and I'll be keeping you updated throughout the week with various guests and analysis on News 24 Live.